Imagine arriving at the airport with everything in order. Your ticket is paid for. Your suitcase is packed. Your documents are ready. You showed up early because you did not want stress. And yet, all around you, other travelers seem to move faster, ask the right questions, and receive help you did not even know existed. That is the part many older travelers discover too late. Air travel is not only about rules. It is also about knowing what support may be available, what accommodations you can ask about, and which benefits are often hidden behind a simple question. Airports rarely stop to explain these things in a clear and reassuring way. Airlines do not always advertise them. And because many seniors are polite and do not want to be a burden, they often go without help that could make the journey smoother from beginning to end. So today, let us walk through 10 senior travel rights, protections, and helpful services that many passengers overlook. Some are formal protections. Some depend on the airline, airport, or route. And some are not guaranteed, but become much more likely when you ask calmly, early, and clearly. If you're over 60 and want each trip to feel safer, easier, and less exhausting, this list could change the way you fly. Number 10. Mobility assistance can be requested even when you're not in a wheelchair every day. Many travelers hear the words wheelchair assistance and immediately think, that is not for me. But the truth is far more practical than that. You do not need to wait until walking becomes impossible before asking for help. Long terminals, steep jet bridges, crowded security lines, and tight connections can wear down even strong travelers, especially after 60. That is why mobility assistance can matter so much. In many cases, travelers who have difficulty with long distances, standing for extended periods, or navigating large terminals may request help moving through the airport. Sometimes that means a wheelchair. Sometimes it means an escort. In some airports, it may include electric cart transport between points. The mistake many seniors make is waiting until they are already tired. By then, the line is long, the gate is far away, and stress begins to build. A calmer strategy is to request assistance in advance or ask a check-in as soon as you arrive. Even if the service is limited that day, you have given the airport more time to help you. The deeper truth here is simple. Asking for support is not weakness. It is planning. It protects your knees, your back, your breathing, and your peace of mind. And for many older travelers, that one request can turn the airport from a draining obstacle into a manageable process. Number 9. Some older travelers receive modified screening, but only if they know how the process works. Security is one of the most exhausting parts of flying because it combines pressure, uncertainty, and speed. Shoes off. Jacket off. Bin here. Bag there. Step forward. Raise your arms. For younger travelers, it can be irritating. For older travelers, it can feel physically demanding and emotionally draining. What many people do not realize is that some screening accommodations already exist for older passengers, especially for those 75 and older in the United States. Screening may be adjusted in certain ways, and officers can sometimes provide a more considerate process depending on the situation. That does not mean every checkpoint works the same way or that every traveler receives the exact same treatment. But it does mean you should not assume the harshest version of the process is your only option. The key is not to argue. The key is to communicate. If you have trouble standing for long periods, if you move slowly, if you need extra time, or if a private screening would make you more comfortable, speak up before the process begins, quietly and respectfully. Many older travelers stay silent because they do not want attention, but silence often makes the process harder. A simple explanation given early can prevent confusion later. And when you travel with less fear at security, the rest of the trip feels lighter too. Number 8. The fare you see online is not always the only fare available. This one surprises many people. Older travelers often assume that booking websites show every possible price. They do not. In some cases, airlines still offer senior fares or unpublished discounts on selected routes through specific channels, or during phone bookings that may not appear in a normal online search. Now, this is important. These discounts are not universal. They're not guaranteed on every flight, and some airlines have reduced or removed them over time. But the larger lesson remains true. The first price you see is not always the final answer. This matters because many seniors travel for reasons that are not purely recreational. They may be visiting family, attending medical appointments, or planning long-delayed trips on fixed incomes. Saving even a small amount matters. And sometimes the biggest savings do not come from a clever website. They come from asking the airline directly if any senior fare, accommodation, or flexibility option is available on that route. The emotional power of this tip is not only about money. It is about confidence. When you know you're allowed to ask, you stop feeling like travel is a closed system designed only for faster, younger, more digital people. You begin to feel included again. Number 7. Medical equipment usually follows different baggage rules than ordinary luggage. Few moments feel more unfair than being charged for something you need in order to stay healthy. Yet many travelers still arrive at the airport unsure whether a CPAP machine counts as a carry-on, whether a mobility aid will be checked, or whether medication cooling packs will create problems at security. The reassuring truth is that medically necessary items are often treated differently from ordinary baggage. That may include mobility devices, CPAP equipment, and some medical supplies. But the process goes best when you stay organized. Keep medications labeled. Keep devices easy to identify. Bring documentation when it makes sense. And if a staff member seems unsure, calmly state that the item is medically necessary and ask how it should be processed. Why is this so important for seniors? Because the stress of defending a medical need at the airport can feel deeply personal. It can leave a traveler embarrassed, rushed, and afraid of being delayed. Preparation helps restore control. Once you understand that medical items often follow separate rules, you stop packing with fear and start packing with clarity. And clarity is one of the greatest forms of comfort a traveler can carry. Number 6. Priority boarding may be available when extra time or mobility support is needed. Many seniors stand in the normal boarding crowd simply because they assume that is what they are supposed to do. They hold their bag. They wait in a tight line. They feel pressed from behind. And by the time they reach the aircraft door, they are already tired. But boarding does not have to begin in stress. Travelers who need extra time, additional space to settle in, or mobility-related support may be able to request pre-boarding or early boarding. In some cases, this is clearly provided. In others, it depends on the airline and the situation at the gate. Either way, the worst mistake is assuming you should say nothing. Early boarding is about much more than getting on first. It gives you time to place your bag without being rushed. It gives you a chance to find your seat before the aisle becomes crowded. It lets you breathe, settle, and begin the flight without the feeling that you are in someone else's way. For older travelers, that emotional difference matters. When the first minutes on the plane feel calm, the entire journey begins on a different note. So if standing in line, lifting luggage, or moving through a crowded aisle is difficult, ask the gate agent whether you can board early due to mobility or comfort needs. A gentle request often opens more doors than people expect. Number 5. Better seating is sometimes available if you explain the need, not just the preference. There's a big difference between asking for luxury and asking for comfort. Airlines hear demands all day long. People want upgrades because they want more. But older travelers often need better seating for very practical reasons. Stiff knees, lower back pain, easier restroom access, or difficulty climbing over seatmates. That is why the language you use matters. Instead of asking for an upgrade as if it were a prize, ask whether there are any seating options that might be more comfortable given your mobility or health concerns. Sometimes there is nothing available, but sometimes there is an aisle seat closer to the front. Sometimes a seat with more legroom opens up near departure. Sometimes an agent sees your calm tone and chooses to help. This is not magic. It is timing, politeness, and clarity. Arrive early enough to ask. Speak with dignity. Explain the concern honestly. Do not exaggerate. Do not demand. Just make the situation visible. For many seniors, one better seat can change everything. Less pain during the flight. Easier access after landing. More energy when the trip is over. And that is worth far more than the label attached to the cabin. Number 4. A companion may be able to escort you to the gate, but most people never think to ask. One of the loneliest parts of senior travel is not the flight itself. It is the space before it. The check-in counter, the security line, the long walk to the gate. The waiting area where every announcement sounds slightly unclear and every gate change feels unsettling. That is why escort support can matter so much. In some situations, airports or airlines may issue a gate pass that allows a family member or helper to accompany an older traveler through security and wait with them until boarding. This is especially useful when the traveler is anxious, not fully confident with the airport process, recovering from illness, or simply flying alone after many years. It is not a universal right in every situation, and approval can depend on airport security rules and airline policies. But the possibility exists often enough that it should not be ignored. If having a daughter, son, spouse, or trusted helper beside you would significantly reduce confusion, ask the airline at the check-in desk whether an escort pass is possible. For some seniors, this is the difference between feeling abandoned and feeling protected. And emotional steadiness matters in travel more than most people admit. Number 3. During long delays, you may have more options than the first agent mentions. Delays are where older travelers suffer quietly. They sit in hard chairs. They buy expensive airport food. They worry about medications, fatigue, and missed plans. And very often, they assume that if the airline does not offer anything immediately, then nothing is available. But long delays are not all the same. Some are caused by weather. Some are caused by mechanical issues or airline operations. And depending on the reason, the country, and the airline's customer service commitments, travelers may have options such as meal vouchers, hotel accommodation, rebooking support, or other assistance. Older travelers sometimes receive more compassionate help when they calmly explain their circumstances. Maybe you have a medical appointment tomorrow morning. Maybe you are traveling alone. Maybe you need a quieter place to sit and take medication. The point is not to invent hardship. The point is to state it clearly. Ask what assistance is available. Ask what the airline can provide in writing. Save receipts. Stay calm. Get names when possible. A respectful but informed traveler is much harder to dismiss than a silent one. The system often moves fastest for the people who ask clear questions, and seniors deserve to know that. Number 2, lounge access is not always reserved for premium travelers with elite status. Most older travelers walk past airport lounges as if they belong to another world. Glass doors, quiet chairs, light food, clean restrooms, a place to rest, a place to breathe. And most people assume that world has nothing to do with them unless they paid for business class or hold a special card. But sometimes that is not the full story. During major delays, missed connections, operational disruptions, or certain assistance situations, lounge access or quiet space accommodations may occasionally become available. Some travelers also qualify through credit cards, travel benefits, memberships, or military and veteran programs they forgot they had. The important lesson is not that every senior can walk into a lounge for free. That would not be true. The lesson is that more options exist than most people think. And because older travelers are more vulnerable to fatigue, stress, dehydration, and discomfort during long waits, asking about rest options can be genuinely worthwhile. A calm question can go a long way. Is there anywhere quieter I may rest during this delay? Are there any lounge or comfort options available? Sometimes the answer will be no, but sometimes the answer changes your day. And after 60, comfort is not indulgence. It is part of traveling well. Number 1, the greatest hidden right is the right to ask early, clearly, and without apology. This final point may sound simple, but it is the one that changes everything. Many senior travelers do not miss support because it does not exist. They miss it because they were never taught how modern travel works. They assume help must be offered if it is available. But airports and airlines rarely work that way. The system rewards the traveler who asks the right question at the right moment. Ask about mobility support when you book. Ask about screening accommodations before you enter the line. Ask about senior fares before you purchase. Ask about seat comfort before boarding begins. Ask about medical item handling before the bag is measured. Ask about delay support before you buy your own meal and hotel. Ask about rest options before you spend 6 hours under fluorescent lights near the gate. This is not about becoming demanding. It is about becoming informed, calm, direct, prepared. The older we get, the more valuable our energy becomes. Our patience matters. Our comfort matters. Our safety matters. And travel becomes much easier when you stop assuming that good treatment appears automatically and start understanding that many of the most helpful services begin with a sentence. So before your next trip, remember this. You do not need to travel afraid. You do not need to travel silently. And you do not need to handle every airport problem alone. Often, the difference between a miserable journey and a manageable one is knowing what may be available and having the confidence to ask for it. If even one of these points surprised you, it may change the way you move through the airport from now on. And once you travel with that knowledge, you do not just feel older. You feel wiser. And that is a powerful way to fly.